to the Nemacolin Fan Hotline and bring in a guy who's quickly become a favorite on our show. He's joined us a number of times. I'm talking about former Steelers offensive coordinator Todd Haley, and now the new coach of the Tampa Bay Bandits, right? Correct? The Bandits is what they're calling you in the USFL. Is that true?
Yep, Tampa Bay Bandits, USFL, going back old school.
How's that going so far? When do you give me a little rundown of what you're doing now as far as putting together a roster? Is that started? Are you well into it? What's going on, Todd?
No, putting together a staff. Talking to it's amazing when you get a job how many guys that want to coach football, and I think that's a big part of it. Not just I'm a big believer there needs to be a developmental, a league that can help guys achieve their dreams, really, that maybe, don't make an NFL roster, but also for coaches. I mean, a lot of guys I know that live and breathe coaching. They want to coach, so that's the process I've been going through. The draft is towards the end of February, and then we'll start up in mid to late March.
You haven't signed Antonio Brown yet, have you?
No, not yet.
Antonio said he'd be interested. You said you'd be interested. Maybe there's a marriage there.
Well, you never know. I'll never say never, but some of his responses to somebody looking out for him were a little disappointing, but that's the way it goes. I think he's going through a little bit right now, and there may come a time where he's knocking at the door. You never know.
Well, nobody has supported him as much as you have, Todd. I know that for a fact, and I hope he can get his life together. All right, let's move on. First of all, to Tom Brady's retirement this week, and your thoughts of coaching against him and probably losing to him, probably more than you would have liked.
For many years, got him once or twice, but not very often. I mean, he really, he's the greatest ever. I mean, people throw the word great around a bunch, but I think in Tom Brady's case, you have to say he was truly great and will go down as one of the great players of all time, if not the greatest player. Sad as a football fan, now somebody that, has been doing radio and things, and, it'll be sad, to not watch him, to not watch Ben. I mean, those are two, legendary guys in the sport. And, when the NFL loses them, that's a hard thing, I think, for a lot of fans to deal with, because you have players that you really enjoy watching, and those two guys specifically. I mean, no, I think the league's in good hands. We got a lot of young, up-and-coming quarterbacks, but you're talking about legendary guys playing that position.
Todd, why was Brady so successful, and why was he able to play for as long as he did?
Well, he obviously takes unbelievable care of his body. Matt Castle came to Kansas City, and he had Tom's chiropractic guru. He wasn't a chiropractor, but pressure points, all that stuff. So when Brady told Matt it was okay, Alex would come to our facility, and so then I'm like, well, I got to try this. I mean, he did everything necessary to take care of himself physically. On the mental side of it, I never was with him, but there's no doubt this guy worked as hard as anybody. I've said it forever. You need great coaches, you need great players. You obviously need a quarterback, but the two exceptions to me, Brady and Peyton Manning, they were like having another coach on the field that was actually handling the football. So, in most cases you need both. In their cases, I think they could have done whatever they wanted because they worked that hard. They worked like coaches, and then they went out on the field and could play like great players.
That's funny you mention that, because both of those guys had the reputation, just tireless film work, right, as preparation for each game.
Yeah, they really were. It was like having another, a head coach, an assistant head coach, whatever you want to say, on the field, on the practice field, talking to teammates, And you hear it over and over. I mean, again, I wasn't with either one of those guys. I know them, a little bit just through time, but they were doing it on all ends, and then on top of that, were terrific throwers of the football and decision makers. So that's a pretty big positive to have.
Talking to Todd Haley on the Nemacolin Fan Hotline, a former Steelers offensive coordinator. Todd, I want to get into a little Super Bowl talk, but I got to ask you about the Brian Flores lawsuit and a couple different aspects to it. About systematic racism and the hiring of these coaches. Mike Tomlin, your former boss, is now the only black head coach in a league with 70 or 75% black players. Your thoughts on the Flores lawsuit?
Well, first of all, it's just, you push back and you're shocked with some of the things you're hearing. The hiring of black coaches, obviously the Rooneys have been at the forefront of trying to do things necessary to give everybody, opportunity. You like to, as just a human being, to think that these owners try to hire the best guys, but there's something out of balance. When Mike's the only, black head coach in the NFL right now, I mean, it's shocking to me. And then a guy gets fired that won a bunch of games. They weren't able to get into the playoffs, but I mean, I thought he's done a terrific job, turning Miami around through a lot of adversity and different things they've dealt with. But, then you hear, some of the accusations. I mean, it's shocking. It's not good. In my opinion, it's not. I've talked to a lot of people here over the last couple of days, and it's not a good thing. When things like this are said or come out, I don't know whether they're true, not true, but it's not good. And it's not anything anybody, that's a fan of the NFL wants to hear.
Well, you're absolutely right, and now the tanking aspect of this, and I mean, I'm not naive enough to think that go back to the Penguins days here, Todd. I know you grew up in Pittsburgh. To get Mario Lemieux here, they intentionally lost games, and the Penguins wouldn't be here if they hadn't intentionally lost games. But to have a coach put say he was offered $100,000 to lose games, and then your former boss, a brief period in Cleveland, Hugh Jackson, said he was offered incentives. I don't know. You were with Hugh a brief time. Did you ever hear anything about that along those lines?
No, I have never. As a coach, you just broke my spirit, Ron, with the Penguins. I didn't. I was a high school kid when the Penguins got Mario, but you just hurt me right there with saying they intentionally lost. That's something I guess I turned a blind eye to. But as a coach, it's not something you ever would think of, consider. I really, I don't know Brian well, but if some of this stuff is true, and the fact that he stood up and stood his ground of integrity and morals and love of the game, then that really impresses me. On the other end with Hugh, I don't. It sounds like he was paid the money. So then, in my mind, I'm like, what? How could you do that? It's not something that ever would be a part of me or my thought process, and just disappointing if any of it's true.
Well, if Hugh was paid to lose, he did a pretty good job. He went 1-31 in those 2 years. I can't even fathom 1-31.
No, I can't. Upside down world at times, but let's move forward, Ron. Let's talk real football.
Oh, I hear you. Well, let's talk about the Super Bowl. You like the matchup?
Yeah, I'm a big Matthew Stafford fan. I'm excited for him and his family. He obviously has been through some adversity off the field, with some of the things he dealt with his wife's health. Happy to see her out there enjoying the moment, and he went through a lot on the football field. So a guy I really liked coming out that I've always kind of been a fan of. So to see him get an opportunity in the Rams and all the additions and signings that they made to, that people question sometimes throughout the year, I'm happy mostly for him that he gets the chance to play in this game. It's it's something you never ever forget, as a player or a coach or a fan. But and then Cincinnati, I mean, this Joe Burrow, he's pretty cool. He's easy to like. I've known Duke Tobin, who's quietly behind the scenes done a really good job helping build this team. But I enjoy watching Burrow. I enjoy watching Chase. I've talked to a bunch of their defensive players on radio shows, and they all, they've done a really good job putting a team together, and to turn from 4 wins to now be in the Super Bowl is pretty impressive. So, I'm a Steeler at heart, but it's nice to see the Bengals have some good things happen to them.
Well, Burrows is amazing to me, Todd, and the connection with Chase. I know a lot of people criticize that pick. They thought they should have gone for an offensive lineman, and I guess you could still argue that when he got sacked 9 times the other day in the playoff game. But the connection that those two have is pretty special, isn't it? And Chase is, I believe, 21 years old. I got socks older than 21,
And didn't play last year, which usually there's some issues that occur with that, and it takes guys time but to be a rookie receiver, I mean, I coached that position for a long time. You don't see rookies come into the league and do the things he's done this year. I mean, he's a monster, and this, at 21, and you're doing some of the things he did this year, it's really unheard of. It's unbelievable. There's definitely something to do with these two knowing each other. I had Anthony Munoz on my show, and I had to ask the question, you're a lineman and one of the greatest left tackle of all time. What were you thinking? And he's like, well, I still think they should have taken the tackle, but I like watching this Chase. I mean, it's unbelievable to watch. I mean, it's going to be something to contend with for a long time.
Well, there's no doubt, and having Burrow in Cincinnati. Now, what do you like about him, Todd? I mean, you mentioned he's cool. The kid seems to almost relish contact. I guess he was asked about that today and said, hey, I'm a football player. I don't back down from it. I hope he picks his spots a little bit. You don't want him to run himself out of the league, but cool, calm, and collected. But he's got that little bit of an edge to him, too, that you kind of like to see at that position, don't you?
Oh, yeah. And everything you hear, just his awareness, understanding of the game. Again, you're talking about a very young player, playing the quarterback position, but some of the things you see him do during a game, whether it's cadence or changing plays, I'm not there, but, just watching, this guy's doing a lot, and he's doing a lot to make each and every play better, not just his ability to throw, but, some of those decisions and changes and cadence. I mean, that's not something young quarterbacks generally are really comfortable doing. So it tells me, this guy's really, really smart. He prepares very well, and he understands, what has to be done to try to make each and every play as successful as it can be.
We're talking to former Steelers offensive coordinator Todd Haley here on the Cook and Joe Show. Todd, you mentioned about just a lifetime experience. You had an opportunity. Your dad was around in the Super 70s and went to Super Bowls, and you got to go, to one as a coach. What is that whole thing like? I suppose there's nothing like it, is there?
Oh, it's really it's something special. I'm blessed to have grown up how I did. I mean, being around some of the greatest players of all time on a daily basis, getting to wash Terry Bradshaw's car or Mean Joe Green or whoever it was, taking his laundry over to the equipment room to get washed. I mean, that's not something many people get to experience with some of the greatest players of all time. To be at that game, to be in those games last weekend, it's unbelievable. It really is. I was in a few, in multiple championship games, only won one, but the ones you think about are the ones that you lost, and that's the toughest. They play the Steelers Super Bowl when I was in Arizona. I mean, and I shouldn't watch it, but I end up watching it and being emotional about it. Those they never go away. Whether you win or lose, those are things that can never be taken away from these players and coaches, and they'll really be teammates for life because of it.
Well, I'm interested, not to bring back bad memories, your analysis of the Ben to Santonio throw. Spectacular on both ends, but I know Bruce Arians said as good as the catch was, the throw was unbelievable. That there's not three guys on the planet who could have put the ball there.
Yeah, that whole drive was just, I think, quintessential Ben and the plays he made. You know, not just that play, but the plays. I mean, there was a holding penalty early, the 1st and 20. He gets out of multiple sacks. Just made unbelievable plays, and to be standing on that other sideline and watch that transpire. You know, Dr. Bradley with the Steelers, you go into his office, he's got a picture, and you can see in the background myself, Kurt Warner, Mo Carzon were bent over. You can see the agony, and the ball wasn't even out of Ben's hand yet. But you knew, you know, he really made the the play before into the other corner of the end zone, and Santonio had a chance to catch it and didn't come up with it. But, I mean, he really – what Ben did in that drive, you know, as painful and heartbreaking as it is for all of us that were on the other side, I mean, when you rewatch it, it's really unbelievable some of the plays he made.
Todd, before I let you go, I got to ask you about the Steelers. A lot of us here are now worried about what's going to happen without Ben, and it looks like it could be a while before they're good again. What do you see when you look at them? What do you see of these young quarterbacks now in mobile? Or is there anyone out there coming out this year that's grabbed your attention?
You know, I like a lot of these young guys. I think, you know, you got to go through the process. You know, I'm not down in Mobile, you know, evaluating the guys. You know, I like Pickett at Pitt, but you got to go through this process. You know, I know that the Steelers are in great hands. You know, I don't know what Kevin's going to do, but Mike Tomlin, he is a phenomenal leader. I heard some of his quotes just about you know, kind of embracing this challenge of the next phase. It's hard. I mean, you don't have these guys don't just come down the pipe every single year. It's hard to find Ben Roethlisberger's and Terry Bradshaw. So you know, but I know they're in great hands. You know, with the Rooneys and Coach Tomlin. You know, he figures out ways to get guys to do a little more than maybe they're capable of at times.
Well, Kevin has already, I guess, earlier this week, Art Rooney II announced that Kevin is done after the draft, which opens up another key position. But there's a lot of frustration here, Todd, that the Steelers have only won 3 playoff games since 2010, and Cincinnati and Joe Burrow just matched that this past 3 weeks. You know, that's the other side of this coin, but it's tough to win in the NFL. I remember Ben telling me many occasions it's tough to win one game, let alone a Super Bowl.
Oh, it is. I think that is probably the thing that, you know, regular fans that aren't directly involved don't understand just how hard it is to win. You know, each and every week, and anybody that's been a part of it understands that. I mean, you lose a game and you go through an entire week of work and preparation and practice and all those things, and a lot of times you're thinking, how the heck are we going to win another game? I mean, it is just that hard. There are no homecoming days. We know that. You know, it takes everything. It takes a little bit of luck. It takes, you know, staying healthy. You know, and it's just very hard to win. And as you said, let alone, you know, win 3 games to win the Super Bowl or whatever you have to do to get there. I mean, it's hard, and you need a lot of things to go right.
All right, Todd, who do you like a week from Sunday? You say your first person you mentioned was Stafford. Are you liking the Rams in this? I don't want you to pick with your heart. I want you to pick with your head.
I like the Rams. I think they're probably on paper a little better team just overall, but Cincinnati has something special going on. I think they're really a close, tight-knit group. You know, that have been able to tune out any distractions. They stick together. They've done things probably above what they, you know, what I thought they were capable of doing. So I'm always kind of lean towards the underdog, and I think this team just has it together, and they're going to do something special.
Todd Haley, appreciate it, man. How are the snook biting down there?
The Ron Snooks are biting every night, Ron. I don't have enough room in my freezer.
Oh man, good luck, and thank you so much for your time, man. It was a joy working with you when you were here. It's a joy talking to you now. Thank you. Stay well. The best of luck to your family.
Thanks, Ron. Enjoyed it and missed the Berg.
All righty, Todd Haley. Thank you, Todd.